Greetings everyone and welcome back to a new video. Now today we're not actually playing games, even though my channel is called Sophie Plays. But we are doing a tier list of a couple games that I've played in the past, and I thought, you know what, I can now finally talk about it because Hogwarts Legacy came out and I finished the main story and some of the side quests. I thought, you know what, I want to reminisce about the past, about the good old games, and then get back there. And I just want to think about like how the games used to be at the time and if they're still fun to play, and to give people an idea if they're worth playing. But this is obviously my opinion. You can always just play the games on your own and just form them. Though I think finding the games nowadays is very hard. Like without torrenting and stuff like that or an emulator, I think it's very hard to actually get a hold of the older Harry Potter games. But who knows? I'm not that familiar with them anymore. I don't play them. I have played Harry Potter 1, the Philosopher's Stone, a couple years ago on an emulator because I didn't have the PlayStation 2 at the time. But anyways, we're going to tier them between amazing, great, good, mediocre, and bad. I haven't added the Lego games because I haven't really played them fully to really give it an opinion. But there's another game in here that I just wanted to add it purely because I've only played it for a couple hours when I was a little kid. And it has to be said. It's part of the tier list, right? So the first game will be the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone, I guess, in Europe, I believe. Now, keep in mind, I have played partially the PC version, because this was at the time when PC, Game Boy, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, I believe, I don't know, they were very different versions. Every single one had like a different type of engine, if I recall correctly. The story played out a little bit differently throughout the quests, and basically, hell, probably even how Hogwarts looked like, but I can't remember that well. But I think, as far as I remember, the levels in Harry Potter 1 on the PC and the PlayStation 2 were different. They were completely different. They were completely different scenarios, and the castle looked at least complete, like it wasn't the same from the inside, at least, is what I can say. However, I have fully played the PlayStation 2 version. I've played the PC for a bit and the PlayStation 1 for a little bit, but I don't have enough to form an opinion about those games. I can only form the opinion about the PlayStation 2. And you know what? Fair enough. I actually enjoyed it at the time. I will say one of the good things I found about the game was actually the soundtrack, which I believe is made by Jeremy Soule. He also made the second game. I don't know about the other soundtracks, I'll be honest. But Harry Potter 1 and 2 are definitely the most memorable in terms of gaming soundtracks. And I have a lot of nostalgia for the games, but I did enjoy it because, like I said, I replayed it recently, the first game. I couldn't play the second one because it was very hard to get it working on an emulator. The game is fairly short. I think you can expect about 7 to 10 hours for Harry Potter 1. But at the time, I really enjoyed it. There were secret areas to find collectibles, and the story was decent enough for the time. The usage of spells was fun, but you'll 80% of the time will be using Flipendo. The levels weren't that bad, but you can definitely see the game has aged. However, I will try and not put my nostalgia into this mind, and for the sake of it, I do believe this game will be put on grade. If there are multiple games in the same tier list, they'll be better based on which one is most to the left. So now we have Harry Potter 2. Now, I believe Harry Potter 2 is the one I've played the most at the time. I kind of just left Harry Potter 1 in the garbage, and I was like, you know what, let's just play the new version. Safe to say, it was a lot of fun. Bro, my names are gonna be fucked. Diagon Alley, bro, it's just... The first area before you go to Hogwarts was a lot of fun. You had to collect sort of like silver coins. Sickles, I believe they're called. I don't know, I played it in Dutch at the time, so it could be a completely different name. And I played most of these games in Dutch, so I don't know the actual English names. So I do apologize for that. It's hard to actually think about the game because I haven't played it in so long. Now I played the PlayStation 2 version again. I haven't played any other version for Harry Potter 2. I've only played the PlayStation 2 version. But it was kind of the same as the PlayStation 1 version, but there's just a couple extra things added into it. But it's, I guess, it's not as much as I would have thought in my mind. I don't believe I was able to finish the last boss, because when I was a kid, I didn't fully understand the mechanics, because you had to fight the basilisk, and it was by... He had something on his neck, and you had to, like, cast a spell towards its neck, and it was very hard for me to fully understand it at the time. I was also pretty scared, I'll be honest. I was, like, 4 or 5 years old at the time, and... the game in general was already scary, because you had these fucking little spiders on the floor that you had to follow, and there were a lot of other things added into that game that just added more scares than the first game. The first game was kind of alright. I guess if I remember correctly, the one boss I always struggled with in the first game, at least, was some sort of like 3-headed plant, and you would always have a big area to run around with in order to fight it. And in Harry Potter 2, the things that I hated the most was actually the ghosts. You had to use Lumos to fight the ghosts away, and when you were at the Dark Forest, it was a hard time to keep up, and I didn't enjoy my time because I was scared the whole time. However, I will say that I still enjoy Harry Potter 1 more than 2, so I will still put it on great, because I do believe that they should be together, because they're good games. They're good games. Now, Quidditch. I played this game for like a couple hours, but I do remember playing it, so I was like, you know what? I have to add this to the tier list, because I don't know what was going through their heads. I mean, I'm already gonna put it on bad. I absolutely despised the game for the time, because for its price and what I was able to do. I mean, yes, you're kind of getting what you're being advertised for, but Quidditch isn't a fucking sport. I'm gonna say it. People are gonna hate me, but the rules in Quidditch make no sense, and to have it as a game, it's basically just catch a snitch. But you can do that in other games. Like I don't believe they've added Quidditch in the other games, but they have added broom flight and stuff like that. Not anything full as Quidditch. I guess Harry Potter 6 has Quidditch, sort of. But it's just, you're just following rings. And like the other games, because Harry Potter 1 and 2, you work with rings. And you can add more difficulty. So the red rings were difficult because they were tiny. And then the other, I don't know if it was green or blue or some other color, was usually a big ring. So you had enough space to get into it. But no for Quidditch. Harry Potter 3. I don't know. I think there were slightly different versions, but I have played on the PlayStation 2. I believe, memory serves right, this is the first game where you can actually switch characters. You were able to play as Hermione and as Ron. I enjoyed it a lot because it was, at the time, it was like for me at least, a big graphical update. To see Hogwarts with a different engine and just with everything looked so much bigger than the first 2 games. And I believe you were also able to fly in the game, like the first 2 games, which was a lot of fun. But the first 2 games, it's just, you don't have much to go with. Once you go outside of Hogwarts, the only areas you have is like a little, like the back area where you were doing the broomfly training. And then outside of it, you go all the way down to Hagrid's hut, and then the sea or a river, and that's about it, or the ocean. And there wasn't more to it. And in Harry Potter 3, they added a couple more things. Like I'm gonna butcher it, but it's the place where they preserve plants, I believe. But yeah, there was just more added to the game. You also had to fight Dementors, which was a scary experience. Hell, you even had to fight a fuck ton of Dementors throughout the end of the game, especially. I think that was, I don't know if it's a spoiler at this point, but be warned. I think one of my favorite moments was actually just busting out my Patronus, and you would have like an elk or some sort of animal in order to try and save yourself and Sirius, and there was like a big group of Dementors, and you had to kind of like go past them to get there, if I remember correctly. But I didn't. I just launched myself into the Dementors. I just couldn't give a shit. What else was there about the game that I enjoyed? It's very hard. I think duels was added better than the Harry Potter 2 as far as I remember, because Harry Potter 2's dueling was like, keep spamming Expelliarmus and the spell gets bigger and bigger and bigger until at one point it explodes and that's it. But no, I do believe Harry Potter 3 had more added, and I did enjoy it at the time. There wasn't really a moment where I thought that I hated the game or I didn't want to play it anymore. It was actually getting boring. Like, nowadays when I play games, it's like I play the main story and the side quest and I just move on to another game. But this was during a period where I think we didn't have enough money or games that I was interested in, and I was actually just replaying Harry Potter games because I didn't have much else to do. But yeah, I think I'm honestly gonna... Oh, man. This is a hard one. I'm also going to put it in grade, but I'm also going to put it above Harry Potter 1 and 2. I know, this is going to sound scummy. One of my shittiest memories of the game is the disc broke, because this was at the time where discs were able to be scratched accidentally, and you had the fucking PlayStation 2 main screen where it was turning red because the CD wasn't readable or it just didn't work anymore. And I remember my dad came back from holiday and he was able to buy the game yet again. And I was very happy to finally play Harry Potter 3 again. So as far as my memory goes, I really enjoyed my time playing Harry Potter 3. Harry Potter 4, Goblet of Fire. Now, I have a little bit of a love and hate relationship for Harry Potter 4 because it wasn't open world. They just completely scrapped it off and it was turned into some fucking sort of Diablo type of gameplay. And you still had levels based on the movies at least, because these are all iterations of the movies. I believe Hogwarts Legacy is the only thing that's closer to the books than the movies. But the Goblet of Fire was just instanced areas, and you had like your two companions, and you just had to fight off enemies. But I didn't enjoy it that much, I'll be honest. It wasn't as innovative. I can't say it. But I was so used to the open world of Harry Potter and being able to explore Hogwarts and outside of Hogwarts and all those areas. And Harry Potter 4 didn't really have it. You would just replay areas, and you had like also challenges where you would have to use Wingardium Leviosa to see how high you could stack things up. The fights weren't as interesting. It wasn't really fun to play, I'll be honest. However, I did have some replayability for the game, so I don't believe I'm gonna put it on bad, but I will put it on mediocre because I didn't enjoy the game at the time. But like I said, this is in a moment where I've replayed 1, 2, and 3 so many times. I wanted something new, and obviously I didn't just play Harry Potter games. There's many other games I played in my childhood, but I just enjoyed Harry Potter games a lot at the time. And but Harry Potter 4 just didn't do it for me, I will say. But it's just not Quidditch level. Alright, Harry Potter 5, in the Order of the Phoenix. I don't know how you want to say it. Now, we're finally back to open world. This game added so much. Now, this is different because I played this on the Wii. So every single other game except for Hogwarts, I played on the Wii version. I don't know if they're different on other consoles, but I played them on the Wii. And it was fun because this was at the time where you could use the Wii remote to actually cast spells and stuff, except for Harry Potter 6. Well, I'll talk about that later. But no, open world was finally back. There was a lot of explorable areas. You had to use actually spells to gather a couple collectibles. You had like I did enjoy that. There was a special area in the game where you could, if you collected enough items, I don't know which items there were exactly, but you were able to see behind the scenes of the movies. You would get like extra stuff, and it was a lot. Like I felt like it was actually worth collecting these things, except for just getting a number up to like 100 out of 100 collected. You actually unlocked content with it. You would get these bloopers, or you would get this. You would see. I don't know, fucking Daniel Radcliffe talking about the set and what happened at the time and blah blah blah. And that sort of thing is what I enjoy. I don't think I saw Daniel Radcliffe. I think it was mostly the other actors. But that was a lot of fun. The combat itself, I remember it being very different from the first 3 games at least, and especially 4, because 4 was completely something else. And it's just I'm trying to wrap my head around how the game used to play out. I remember mostly the gameplay on 6, 7, and Hogwarts nowadays, because 5, the Order of Phoenix is a long time again, like the other games as well. But yeah, the Order of Phoenix was, it just, I think you were finally able to use like different set of spells, except for like 1 or 2 spells that you had in the previous games when dueling and fighting. It was a locked on type of enemy type of fight, and I guess it was enjoyable. I don't know if the Wii actually required me to move the controller the way it needed to be in order to cast spells, or it was just a typical just do this with the controller and you can spam your abilities. I can't remember that exactly. However, what I enjoyed about Order of Phoenix was back to the open world, and also the way you could collect things. And obviously the story itself was decent enough. But obviously, if you've seen the movies, the game plays out pretty much 80 to 90% the same. So I can't really add my opinion on the story because it's just based on if I like the movie or not. I will put this on grade yet again, but however, I am gonna put them below 1 and 2. I definitely enjoyed these games more than I enjoyed Phoenix. Half-Blood Prince. Now, you start off outside of Hogwarts. You start at the Weasley household, and you get your first tutorial on how to play Quidditch. Sort of. It's bullshit. You just go through rings again, and then at some point you catch it. That's it. There's nothing else to it. So it wasn't really innovative. I can't say that word. It wasn't groundbreaking. But no, I enjoyed the game, but like I wanted to mention that the combat was different because the combat didn't require you much to use the Wii controller, as far as I remember. You were just, I don't know if it was the A button or the B button, but the game mostly worked with either casting a spell to turn them over, but otherwise you would just be spamming, I think Stupefy or something. It was a red spell, and you had like, you yourself, your health bar was based on like blue circles, and the enemy had blue circles and a set amount of blue circles. But you would just spam the attack button and you just see Harry going like this, and that's it. And that's it. That's the whole fight, and that's done. So the combat wasn't really that much fun. You weren't required to do a lot of things for it. You just spam a couple buttons. You were able to dodge as well. It had open world. As far as I remember, sprinting was fucking ludicrous. You would actually like sprint a fuck ton. But I do feel like it played pretty much the same as Order of Phoenix, just a little bit downgraded in my opinion. I will say so. I didn't enjoy Half-Blood Prince as much. So I think I'm gonna put this on. Again, I don't think it's levels of Goblet of Fire. Granted, if you like the type of gameplay for Goblet of Fire, more power to you. You would probably put it on great or amazing. But for me, I'm so used to the open world that when Goblet of Fire came out, I was very confused. I'm like, is this the game? Is this what's supposed to happen? When do I get to roam around? I didn't. Okay, we have the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and then later on Part 2. Now, I have a little bit of a problem with these games because they're just mainly Call of Duty, but with wizards. Again, it feels like Goblet of Fire with instance areas, though it's more 3D than the top-down type of view. The graphics were decent for the time, but the game was short. And honestly, I do remember when I played Part 1 and I wanted to replay it, there were so many sections in the game where I thought like, oh, I really don't want to get through this. It's such a slog to get through. It's just boring, and I don't want to do that again. But I do enjoy some other parts later in the game, but I have to get through these ones again, and I can't be asked. So I had my mentality was basically on, there was some parts in the game I enjoyed, but it was mostly like just a slog. It was a full-on slog to get through, and it didn't feel as fun as the other games. There isn't much I can say about Part 1. I didn't enjoy it. So I'm actually going to put this in last place of mediocre. Okay. I might do some rearranging at the end, so this isn't the final results. We have the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, just like Part 1, it's exactly the same type of gameplay, but this game caused my parents to fucking hate me because they paid for the game because I was 12 at the time, or 13. I think I was 12. And they paid the full 60 price for the Wii. The game was like 2.5 hours long, or 2 hours long, to finish the whole thing. And I remember coming back from my room, and I said to my parents the same fucking day, yeah, I finished the game. And they're like, no, you can't be fucking serious. And I'm like, no, I'm sure there's probably some levels around. There's probably some extra stuff I still need to do. It's not like done, but I just wanted to say it. But that was just to save my fucking skin. The game was actually done. You could replay it in a higher difficulty if I remember correctly. But there wasn't much to it. Nah, this game was, in my opinion, was horrible. I'm actually going to put it on bad. It's, I wouldn't say worse than Quidditch, but I am going to put this on bad. And now Hogwarts Legacy. Now this opinion is very recent. And I can't add nostalgia to the factor. Because... I played it like a week ago. I finished it a week ago. Because I didn't play it when it released. I played it like a month later. Look, I loved the open world again. You could explore the whole castle. A lot of collectibles. Maybe too much. Maybe too many collectibles. Customization is awesome. You have a lot of things you can mix and match. Apologies. I will say though, I did notice that again, I'm very I have a love and hate relationship with cape physics. They sometimes work, but they also just don't, and it can be a little bit like immersion breaking. My character didn't have many cape issues, but other NPC players did have cape issues. There's a lot of texture problems where the inside of the cape is not rendered. So if you stand your character straight and you have like a type of robe or cape and you set him aside and you check this section of the inside of the robes, you can see it's see-through. There's no... These things annoy me very badly. I'm very against clipping. I'm against the whole inside textures and not rendered, that sort of thing. And then on the outside it looks fine, but on the inside it doesn't. It's very immersion breaking for me. And then it's like I unlock a cool robe. I remember unlocking the Gryffindor because I chose Gryffindor. I had the Gryffindor robes. Once you collect 16 of those tokens that were opened by finding those flying keys. But the inside isn't rendered, so it looks weird. So yeah, it's like hard work put into finding content, and once you finish that content, you get rewarded for it, but the reward is actually immersion breaking. Combat was fine. I enjoyed it. It's very fluid. Is that the word? It does get repetitive at some point. And once you get spells like the Unforgivable Curses without having any repercussions, you do get a lot of just spamming Avada Kedavra whenever it's needed. Especially once there's an ability you can unlock where if you use Crucio, you can use your normal attack spells in order to spread out the curses. And if you use Avada Kedavra, that curse is the killing curse is spread throughout all the enemies that have been previously cursed. So you just basically completely annihilate everyone in one hit. And then it doesn't really get as much fun. It's fun for the first part, but then it isn't. There's no repercussions for having the spells. There's no reputation system in the game. The game, you spend 80% of your time outside of Hogwarts. You barely actually are in the castle. I played for about 42 hours before I finished the game. And I can safely say, I think only 8 hours of that game time is spent inside the castle. And everything else is outside. I don't get to, there's not a lot of secret areas like the older games had. Like Harry Potter 1 on PC, for example. The castle was massive on the inside because there were so many sections that were just randomly created with puzzles and jumping parkour and whatever. But Hogwarts Legacy doesn't really have that. You also get a very chosen one-y storyline that feels so out of place. You can't really form relationships as badly inside Hogwarts. You have like some of the relationship quest lines, but afterwards you can't really communicate with them as much, and it's kind of done. And everyone feels like an actual NPC. Like obviously they are NPCs, but they're not as interactive as other games that I have played in my time. And it just feels, you feel very lonely in that game. You feel very alone because no one is it's just doing stuff with you. You don't have a companion system that talks to you every now and then when you do something. You don't have random NPCs. You can have like tons of conversations. Usually you have only like one option. You have only like one question you can ask, and then that's the whole conversation. I'm looking at you, every single professor. The game has, in my opinion, a ton of fucking issues. And while I did enjoy its theme park feeling, you know, being able to explore, being able to broom fly, which also was a big issue for me because you couldn't look up or down, and I absolutely hated the controls. But it does get satisfying once you get all the upgrades and you can just roam around with a broom. But then flying mounts, I feel like those are kind of unneeded. And I feel like there's so much content added into the game that wasn't necessary, that I just feel like everything is just there for the sake of prolonging my game time, but it doesn't really add anything. The whole room of requirements, where you can just decorate your place and you can have your own fucking Animal Crossing in another section. It feels so unneeded, and it literally feels like you're the actual, like, yeah, you're the main character in the game, but I don't want the game to actually make me feel like I'm the main character, because it feels like the room of requirement is literally just set out for me and no one else. Like I'm the only one that needs a special room in a room of requirement to study. I'm the only one that has to capture these beasts in order to safekeep them. I'm the only one with ancient magic. And even though I didn't like the whole ancient magic thing, but there's so many things that make me feel like everything is being done for the sake of me, and I didn't like that as much. With Harry Potter games, I can sort of understand it because that's the premise. It's Harry Potter is the main thing, the main story, what's the most important in the game, because it has to do with the villain. There is a correlation between those two, and it does play out. But with Hogwarts, you obviously have a new character, a new setting, but it tries to make you feel like Harry Potter. But it just feels so out of place. That's my opinion. And also, your fucking character's a psychopath. It's it's ridiculous. Important people die in the storyline, and he doesn't give a shit. And some of these options even the nicest options make you sound like a fucking robot. And I'm just there thinking like, bro, I lack empathy, but you're just levels above in lacking. And I'm just there like, holy shit, even I'm not that bad. And that's saying something. So I'm actually going to put Hogwarts Legacy... Ooh... I'm going to put it on the top of mediocre. Save and download. Oh yeah, it's because I finished the tier thing. Do I want some rearranging though? So we've put 4 of these games in grade. Nothing in amazing. We have 1 game on good, 3 on mediocre, and 2 on bad. I think maybe because of the added content, the only change I would make is put Chamber of Secrets in amazing. Then have these 3 games on great, Half-Blood Prince on good, Hogwarts, Goblet of Fire, and Deathly Part 1 on mediocre, and Deathly Part 2 and Quidditch on bad. I played the Lego games for a bit, but I'll probably put them on good. if I had the games in the tier list, because they were decent at the time. I played them every now and then, but I haven't really like done a whole playthrough of the game, because it was usually other family members were playing that game, and I sometimes used their account, but I wasn't really playing from start to finish. But this is my tier list. I'm still sick. Let me know what you think about it. It could be some controversial stuff, but I think this is completely fine. I'm trying not to put nostalgia into it because I can't even remember the games as well anymore. I'm trying to base my memory, because I played them all as a kid, and how much fun I've had with the games. And this is kind of how it's going. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. I'm probably going to do these tier lists more often if people enjoy them. I do like talking about these sort of games. There's other tier lists I kind of want to do. I think I want to do a tier list of all the Star Wars games, because I've played like about 85% of those. And there's probably some things I want to talk about. But obviously, I know what I'm going to put in Amazing, and definitely. Anyways, I'm going to thank you all for watching, and have a good day, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!